Welcome back to Ask Radrat. Got a couple more questions for you today. First one is from Bird Dangler, and he asks if we should care about ABDs, or already been dones. And the first time I ever heard about this as a concept was from Owen Wilson, and yeah, right. Let's take a look at this.
Yep. Don't forget Sylmar, front salad, back salad, front blunt.
Bullshit.
Basically, I got 2 minutes of footy, but I'm not using any of it because it's already been done in 411 issue number 52.
But no one's seen you do it.
Now that was fake in case you weren't familiar with that clip before, but the idea he's talking about where you could do a trick, but since it's already been done, the footage is worthless. Is that something we should care about? And I think most of the time, no. Sort of like Mike Carroll was saying, they haven't seen you do it. So especially if you have a different camera angle or you're the opposite stance or something like that, you know, there's no reason to not do a trick just because somebody else did it. The one time when I think it would be a big problem is if it was a really creative, original trick and you just ripped it off. So like how Richie Jackson does those, where he does like a firecracker halfway down and then stops in tail stop and then does like a varial heel down the last few steps. If you were to go to that exact spot and do that same trick, then obviously that's not cool. But aside from that, I mean, who cares? Do your own thing. Just try to make it original, make it your own, put your own style on it, whether it's how you do the trick or the way it's filmed or something like that. But as long as you're not directly stealing from somebody, if it's just a basic trick, then I don't think there's any reason to not redo something. All right, my second question is from Mullet McNasty. He wants to know my favorite flat ground trick, non-freestyle or old school, and my favorite trick off of things. So a couple people asked similar questions, so I'm gonna answer it a few different ways. My all-time favorite trick right now is the no comply frontside big spin flip. I know it might count as old school, I have a second answer. But I did a trick tip recently on the shred school for it. And it's just a really consistent trick. It feels really cool. You know, it's a big spin, so there's a lot going on and it all comes together right under your feet. I just really like the feel of it. I like the way it looks. I think it's a really cool trick. I love that trick. As far as a non-old school, I would say probably front foot impossibles. So I was never that consistent with that trick, but I actually only have one on camera that I ever did. But I would do them from time to time, and every time you land one, it just feels awesome. It's like an accomplishment to do that trick because it's the top of its category. It's like the hardest trick you can do without it having a spin, being switch, or having a late flip or something like that. It's like the hardest in its category of basic flat ground tricks. So it always feels really cool to do one. Another trick I always used to love is Casper flips. They're hard to keep consistent because you have to have that pause in there while your back foot comes around. I still could do them from time to time. I filmed a ton of those, but that one is definitely one of my favorites. But again, I don't know what counts as old school and freestyle for you. So the second part was favorite trick off of things. Now, if I ever skated a gap back in the day, I couldn't really compete with anybody else as far as throwing a big trick down it. So I would always try to find something unique or interesting. That was always my favorite thing to do. Like I would do a tail drop down some stairs, or I would roll up, catch my nose on the ledge, and then indie and pull it over. You know, that kind of stuff that was just kind of weird and fun. I thought that was a lot more interesting than the really basic stuff that I might have been able to do. But aside from that, any kind of gap where, you know, a grass gap or something I had to clear, I always liked doing them backside. So backside 180, backside flip, something like that. I actually broke my ankle, well, sprained it really bad, technically, but I broke my ankle backside flipping over like a curb. It was like a sidewalk with a curb on both sides, and I tried to clear the whole thing, broke my ankle on it. So, you know, I didn't get too big into that kind of stuff, but I always thought it felt really cool clearing something while going backwards. Well, that's all for this time. I've got a lot more questions for you on the way, but I do a lot more than just this. On screen right now, you'll see some of my other stuff. I have trick tip videos, I have stuff on different kinds of video games like Android stuff or any kind of systems. Check those out right here. And until next time, thanks for watching.